All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. I want to talk about three things here, and we'll talk about the challenge, talk about the site a little bit, and talk about AMD, and answer a few questions that have come in here on it. Now, let's start off with the 100K challenge. So right now I'm sitting with some XLF puts, and XLF is down a little bit here today. It's been between down 10 cents and 20 cents most of the day, and really just to the low end of the range of kind of where it's gone to, and pretty much kind of where it was when I got in. But it's a short-term option, time decay, and it's a high-risk, high-reward proposition right here in terms of will it go to zero, will it have value. In terms of the value that's on it, if it were to expire right here, right now, it's worth about $300, somewhere in that area. If it drops, here to $25.50 tomorrow, it'd be worth just under $1,000. Anything further is a lot more. Anything up is a lot less. So there's a wide variety of kind of what could happen. In all, it's just kind of been stuck in this consolidation here, and really just hasn't gone anywhere overall. So I'm going to hold it here today, and I'm going to take it in tomorrow because there is a catalyst tomorrow, and because of what the TLT is doing. We are seeing the TLT rise and the TLT go higher. I expect financials to follow it. We're seeing Bank of America follow it to a greater degree than others because, well, let's face it, Bank of America is more tied to it than some of the others like a Goldman or even a JP Morgan. But overall, we're seeing a lot of the banks break below their 7-day moving averages. And so I'm going to hold the XLF into tomorrow, and and I'll take it before the close of the market. If there's value, and if there's not, well, I'll let it expire and won't pay the commission. But overall, it will be the last trade for this challenge, no matter what the value is. So even if it drops, let's just say XLF drops to 23 tomorrow, which it won't. But let's just say that happens. This still will be the last trade of this challenge, and I will begin another challenge here in February on the 11th, okay, on February 11th. So that's about a week and a day here from today. So we'll be doing that next week on Friday. I will come out with some details about the challenge. Going to change a few things up there with it, and going to talk about several things there. Looking forward to it, but we'll be doing that. So that means next week I'm not going to be trading the challenge. And that takes us to site operations here in Trader Minute. I will not be doing videos or commentaries or trades next week. We're going to shut Trader Minute down for the week. I'm going to take a break there from those things for about a week in prep of the new challenge. At the same time, they will extend everybody's membership out a week, an additional week, whether you're monthly, yearly, whatever it be. Your membership will be extended a week so that you're not being charged for the time that I step away here for it. So we'll be doing that, and that's going to start tomorrow. So I won't be on video, won't be on chat, won't be on video, won't be chatting about trades or making any trades here starting tomorrow. And then I will be back next Friday. And next Friday, I'll talk about the upcoming challenge. We'll go take a look at a bunch of the week's earners and show you a few other things that are going on, in preparation of the next challenge. So we'll be doing that here next week, and starting that next Friday. So this will be the last video that I do until next Friday, and we'll be going from there. If you do have any questions about it, just shoot it over to support. Michelle can help you out there, with that. Okay. So that's what's upcoming. When I do exit the XLF, the trade alerts will go out. Okay. So that's that's something. You don't have to worry about that. That'll still be going out. Here per normal. Tomorrow. Tomorrow we have some interesting earners. Nothing in the bank area, but we do have the jobs report, which tends to be a be a decent catalyst for the banks. Yeah, it'd be nice to see that catalyst, create a little bit of pullback, not just for the XLF, but for some other stuff that's squarely in the overbought territory out there. Okay, now want to go out and take a look at a specific stock here, and that stock is AMD. Now, we talked about the earnings on AMD, pre-earnings, post-earnings. You know where I stand on AMD. I am strongly bearish AMD, okay? I don't have a position on it here just yet. I was fortunate, was able to play this down personally, but I haven't jumped in really since. I've made 2 smaller trades that really didn't go anywhere, but I haven't been able to step in a big way, overall. And we saw the earnings, right? And the earnings, you heard my take on them. I think that it's one of those elements where the earnings didn't give me any more confidence in the company. They didn't give me any more reason to be bullish, but they gave a short squeeze reasoning. And I'll be able to use that short squeeze as a chance to get in to the downside eventually. And I mentioned yesterday, I don't know if it'll be today, tomorrow, next week, and next month. But I need to see a sign that the shorts are done, that the short squeeze is over. And we haven't seen that here so far, right? We haven't even seen anything close to it, right? Take a look. Here's the price action on the stock since earnings, okay? And, this is just a minute chart. And here we have yesterday morning. And the stock opens up and it rips higher, okay? Rips higher. And then it has a singular pullback, okay? This is the key. Short squeezes only have singular pullbacks. Short squeezes do not have double-legged, triple-legged, quadruple-legged pullbacks. Short squeeze also have monster volume. And so we get a singular pullback right here, and then we start to rally. Is there any secondary pullback breaking this low? Nope, not a single one. So we rally, AMD rallies again, okay? And then it pulls on back. All right, great. Has a little pullback. Rallies back. All right. Does it break the low from that pullback? Nope, it doesn't. So what do we know? We know that it's still in short squeeze mode, never has a material pullback into the close. There's never a spot to look and to enter and to say, hey, I'm going to go short this. In fact, the entire, short-term trading position still needs to be long. Still needs to be long, strong, and go. After hours, we don't get any type of pullback that is a pullback below the prior pullback of significance, right? And the after hours action, unless there's just news on AMD, I don't much care about, right? I just don't much care about. Chances are it's not going to tell me a thing. So, wake up today. All right, great. Here we go. Market opens. AMD opens up, and after the first couple minutes, great, fine. There's always going to be, some orders from the prior day that chop it, and we get this move higher, right? Get the move higher, and we get a pullback. And this pullback right here was about 40 cents. Right? And I'm watching it this morning as it pulls back, and we see it, rally on back like we have seen this happen, and this is what a short squeeze is. But then it sells again, and it doesn't break this low. So I'm sitting there looking and going, okay, you know what? I need to break about 24.05 in order for me to be interested in a short position. Well, it doesn't break it, right? Now it goes to a new high. Takes this number out. That number no longer is valid. We've now moved to a new high. We're still in short squeeze mode. Pullback. Okay, pulls back, goes up to a new high, pulls on back again. Oh, man. We see these singular pullbacks. We're not getting any sort of multiple pullback legs with lower highs and lower lows. Here we have a lower high, but we are not confirmed with any kind of lower low. And then we go back up to a new high. All right. No real pullback. Yeah, okay, a few pennies. Fine, great. But then we get a pullback, right? Now we pull on back. We pull on back here to 24.70. Okay, now we're rallying on back. all right, if we don't set a new high and we go and break 2470, there might be a decent chance of, hey, you know what, this is where I want to get in. This is where I want to, start to play, some sort of downside here when it comes to AMD. But there isn't any of that. In fact, it's quite the opposite, and it is total, this is what short squeezes look like, right? It's one thing to theorize about a short squeeze and what's going to happen in a short squeeze and everything else, but there is a characteristic of short squeezes that has existed for 20 years, since I've started trading. And, those of you who remember, my friend John, who really, got me into trading, I'll never forget the day he called me over and he said, Jeff, watch this stock. This is a short squeeze. And it was a stock after earnings. It was Crocs, and it was after earnings, and the shorts were just getting absolutely blitzed. The shorts were right. The shorts were ultimately right that Crocs was, a hoax. But the element of a short squeeze was absolutely in play. And, this is exactly what it looks like. This is the trend of a short squeeze. And you know what? It may not end tomorrow. It may not end on Monday. It may not end on Tuesday. Eventually it'll end. But when you look at AMD and you look at the short volume or the short float, it was almost 15% of the company. I believe it's something like 14% now. But 14%, right? I mean, that's a huge number. And in fact, let's go to, I'm just going to go days. There's a term when it comes to short squeezing called days to cover, right? And the NASDAQ oftentimes will publish this. Okay, here we go. And I just put in AMD, let's see here. I typed in AMD days to cover, and Google gave me the NASDAQ page that I'm looking at. And so they look at short interest, and they look at average daily share volume. And they give this number, days to cover, so 1.2. So basically what they're saying is that if all the shorts go out and get out right here, right now, it's going to take 1.2 days to cover. What does that mean? Well, is all the volume on AMD, is it attributed to the shorts covering? No, not at all. Not at all, right? It's not attributed to them at all. So when I look at a days to cover, right, and I look at a short squeeze going on, I always take this number and times it by 3. That gives me my expectation of, realistically, how long could a short squeeze happen? Now, it can always be a little shorter. It can always be a little longer, but that's generally a good ballpark. So 3.5 days. 3.5 days, okay. So that's not yesterday. It's not today. It's not tomorrow. All right, maybe Monday afternoon, right? Maybe Monday afternoon. So, well, I've been watching it, out of the corner of my eye and, keeping tabs on it. Right? It's not something that I'm going, oh man, right here, right now, let's go. No, I need to see the shorts come off it. I need to see the shorts, some sign of the shorts getting off of it. And I'll be honest, even if it does dip and break this line right here, this 2470 in the next little bit, I'm not convinced that I'm going to go and short it right there. I'm not convinced that the short squeeze is over. It would be a good sign that it's about that, but now I need a good risk-reward element, right? And now I got to decide, okay, is this where I want to step in? Do I want to wait just a little bit, give myself that 3.5 days? How do I want to position it? And for me, I'm much more in I want to give it that kind of 3.5 days because, even the options, the implied volatilities, they need to come down a little bit. And, I'm interested in a little bit of a longer term play. And I'm interested in a put spread, right? And even these put spreads, they're still a little expensive. We're still talking about, We're still talking about a price that's kind of 4 to 1, 3 to 1. I'd like to see something in the 5 or 6 to 1 area there for the put spread. So we're not quite there. A little bit more squeeze. We might get there overall. But a lot of times when squeezes end, when they're done, they will look something like this. And we saw it back here in September. And, you even saw me get on video on the day that it did it. And we talked about this candle. And, this big old, dark cloud candle on monster volume. So, yeah, the short squeeze is going to be on heavy volume, right? And it could be a few days and whatnot. But when am I sure the top is in? Well, when we get that big kind of bearish candle on big volume, and a lot of times what that's a sign of is the shorts are just done. They're done covering. And, when the shorts start to see a stabilization point, you betcha they're willing to get back in. Because the shorts that are getting squeezed here on AMD, they're not getting out because they think the story has changed. This is a pure run for cover type of element. I'll make my money back on it later type of a deal. Short sellers, they're not going to give up on it just because of that earnings report. They're forced out, they're squeezed out, right? Because there's no real, they absolutely just have to at a certain loss percentage. But we'll hit a level here where the shorts are going to start to look at it again and go, come on, seriously? And when it gets to that level, we'll see some technical action. And the one thing about the shorts tend to rely on technical action more than longs do. And that's just that's a tendency that we've seen over the years. It's not a absolute, but when it comes to AMD, when it comes to the price action that we see here, it's still in short squeeze mode. And so there's no reason to jump into it yet. There's no reason to short it yet. Will it be at 26 or at 27 or at 28 or at 29 or at 34? Sure. Who cares, right? Who cares? There's nothing about a short squeeze. There's nothing about this move that makes me look at this level and say, well, that's important, or this level and say that's important. The only level that has some semblance of importance on the chart of AMD is back here in September, right? And, let's face it, the stock's had 2 earnings reports since. A lot has changed. A lot's different. So is this even all that important? So I'm not looking at the chart and going, well, this and that and that and this. It's something where I'm looking at going, okay, where do we see the new sign that the top is in? And so far it's not there. So far it's not there. And, I've kind of shown you what some of the tendencies are when we see it. One of the things that you'll oftentimes see in terms of the shorter terms, and where you'll get this type of action or this type of action where you'll have a 1 or 2 day pullback afterwards, is you'll get on the minute chart, you'll get AMD going up and up, pulling on back, going up and up, pulling on back, a little flat. Then you'll get this just kind of high, you'll get this move up, and the magnitude may be big, it may be small, but the volume is monster. You'll get a huge volume candle associated to it that does mark that kind of short-term top. And if you look at today, right, we just haven't had it. We had this 2.5 million right here on this upward tick, but that was in the first 30 minutes. So who cares, right? First 30 minutes just tends not to be, what you want. Here we had some volume, but it wasn't a huge volume tick. Here we had a little volume, but that was even lower than, what we saw this morning. So we just haven't seen a huge volume tick that would suggest, hey, top is in either. And, that's kind of what what we're looking for. Take a look at U.S. Steel. Here's U.S. Steel. They reported yesterday. We talked about this. There's we're talking about a dirt cheap stock, and this is only 9% short, so nowhere near the short interest of AMD to have the same type of squeeze. But if you look at the price action, it's squeezy. right? Here we go. We get the uptick after the sell. We get the uptick, and we singular pullback. We don't break the low. We get another uptick, singular pullback, right? We're in those singular pullback modes here with U.S. Steel on this kind of short squeeze since the gap lower here today. All right. So anyway, just wanted to kind of show that, note that here in terms of the mechanics of a short squeeze. This isn't something I apply to or even look at a Facebook and say, hey, this has any relevance, right? Facebook has a 1.5% short float, so this isn't a short squeeze, right? That this isn't driven by the shorts popping out. That's not a big mechanic here. One stock that oftentimes gets little squeezes here on it. It has about an 8% short float is KB Home. Right, we talked about KB Home yesterday, and KB Home had some of this short squeeze mechanic associated here to it. Has some of it here today, although I think this is more than just a short squeeze when it comes to KB Home. I think this is much more of a bullish story. When it comes to KB Home, and we talked about it. We talked about what on Tuesday, and we've seen it carry on and continue on higher here overall. Okay. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a great one, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care.